Right, so we started on with this corner leather sofa. You can just about see over my shoulder. The stool is ripped up or unpicked. The cover's still on it. I need to leave it on there because it's the template, so it reminds me how everything goes. So today is a lot of ripping up of furniture. As you can see here, we've got these two pieces. There's been some repairs which surprised me. It's got a secondary bottom cloth on this. Let's have a look, see what we find. I suggest that it means it's been opened up at some point for a repair. It looks like it may have literally just been damaged. So there you go. The stool certainly has had a repair. There's been issues with the legs. I'm not sure if these have been factory rejects and then been repaired and sold on, but that's not an issue. It doesn't affect what I've got to do. Just out of all interest, it was manufactured in 2005. Looking at this, there you go. Assembling past frame. That was underneath the frame. Probably sold as Italian furniture, but came from China. Anyway, so I'm going to crack on with ripping these up. You don't need to see me watch me ripping these up. So we'll come back to you once they're ripped up and I'm ready to actually start doing some upholstery on them. Just to clarify, when I say ripping them up, literally I've got to unpick the fabric all the way around the bottom. It looks like these are all sewn up and slipped on relatively simply, but we'll see as we go on. I need to address any issues with the seats, and I think that's going to involve me re-webbing the seats on these because the webbing may have gone, but we'll see as we get on. Okay, so I'll get back to you shortly. Let's see what we find. Right, I know I said I'd come back to you once it's ripped up, but I just wanted to show you this, what I suspected why the bottom had been done. This has had a repair done at some point. See this here? That's where it was stapled originally, the fabric. And obviously the seat had gone slack, so somebody's been in here and pulled the seat tight again. Yeah, that's fine, you know, that happens with leather on big cushions like these. It can go slack, as you can see there. It had obviously done it early on in its life and the customer wasn't happy, so they've had it repaired. Hence, that solves the reason why it's got a second bottom cloth on it, because somebody had put their hand in to be able to undo these bolts to remove the arm to then be able to do the seat repair. So there you go. So I must crack on and finish getting this ripped up. Okay, back soon. Right, so I always start with right. Bad habit. I'll try and be a bit more inventive. Anyway, so this is ripped up now. It doesn't look like it at the moment, but it is all ripped up. The cover's just on the sofa still, so I can work it out for templating. But theoretically, the cover is all loose now. There you go. Might be of interest. 5p. Have found an out-of-date £1 coin. No good to anybody though. But there you go. Right, some of the fixings on this were broken. The fixings that hold these connection plates on the side, like so, with a countersunk Phillips head 8M6 screw, if you really want to know, with a T-nut on one of them, and the other fixings have got the built-in T-nuts, press-fitted T-nuts which go into the frame. So at some point somebody's had issues and replaced them with a standard sort of T-nut from these because they cross-threaded the screws putting them in. So we've had to rip them out. We're going to get by that by putting some longer screws in, which I have here. Some nice big penny washers on the back of them and a bolt, so we'll fix them in before we put the bottom cloth on. It does mean that these fixings, if they ever have to come off, which they won't, why would you want to take them off, are going to be permanently fixed, and the only way you're going to get them off is by taking the bottom cloth off. But that's what we need to get on with. So that's just one of the things that we normally come across. There are some bits of foam which sit on the seat rails here and here, so when you bump down that you don't go bang onto a seat rail. These had found their way loose and come off, so they'll need reattaching. And like I say, once I pull this cover off, I'm going to inspect the seat first, pull the foam back if I can, to be able to gain access to the webbing in there, because I'd like to replace the webbing in this seat because it'll be stretched, and hopefully we can reuse the foam that's on the seat. But if we have to replace it, we have to replace it. It's got to go back to the customer and they've got to be happy. So let's get on with removing this cover and seeing what we find. Right, it seems, you can't see it from there, that this is all stitched together. The seat and the back is actually stitched together on the other side here. I will take the camera and show you what I mean. Right, here you can see the seat, and it's actually stitched to the inside back and outside back. So this whole thing went on in one unit. I'm going to break this seam here because I much prefer to do the seat and the back as separate parts. But there you go. That's quite interesting. So there you go. Pop you back in there. Right, so I'll just get my knife, pop that seam, and then we can remove this as a part. We can just take the seat out to start with, so I can see what's going on with the seat. The back should be fine. Right, so that's the seat. Big piece of leather, that. Lots of leather there. That's the seat. So we'll sling that over there for now. Don't need that at the moment because we're going to try and peel the seat back to have a look at the webbing. Unfortunately, as again with a lot of these manufacturers, we don't have any canvas. This seat has been Lux Bond all the way around. I tried to get the cushions off without damaging the Lux Bond. unfortunately the glue is coming apart relatively easily with a gentle touch. The foam is actually still very good. It's the only thing that's let it down is the lack of canvas and the fact that the webbing is stretched. So there you have it. There's the foam. It hasn't torn through the webbing at all, but you can see here this webbing is very, very loose now. So that's going to resolve any issues with this, I believe, if we replace the webbing and canvas this seat. So let's get this out of the way and I can start stripping the web. Now, there's not many webs in it either, to be honest with you. There's enough. I would have possibly put a couple more in full length, but there's plenty in from side to side, especially with this 3-inch webbing. But it does need replacing, so I'm going to strip that out and replace it. I have been asked this in the comments regarding the web that we use. Their elastic webbing comes in different percentages of stretch. So not all elastic webbing is equal. And then of course you've got the variants of Atlas webbing and Pirelli webbing, which you'll find on some Urkel sofas, etc., and probably other sofas as well, which basically has 0 stretch in it. But what we use for, or what I use for seat webbing is a 10% stretch. So when you're fixing it on, you have to pull it as tight as you can, and then that is at its 10% stretch, so then we get a nice firm platform that's going to last years. I have seen companies that have previously used the same webbing on the seats as they do on the backs, which is just not adequate. There's a reason why back webbing comes with 60% stretch or possibly even more, is because you want the softness in it and it hasn't got the weight going on it. But there you go. So in our seats, on the 2-inch webbing, we'll use something with 10% stretch. So I'm going to strip this out. Sorry, I walked off camera then. And we'll get back to you when we're starting to web it up. Okay. Right, I've just got to put a couple of webs in the back here at this portion. but you can already see how much firmer this seat is compared to what it was. There you go. So yes, pull the webs as tight as I can. I'm going to put those couple of webs in, and I'm going to canvas the top of this. So the canvas gets attached right the way around the perimeter of the seat, and then we've got a lovely firm platform for the cushions to go back onto, and it should transform the seat. As I said, the foam in this case was not letting the sofa down, it was the platform. Just as a caveat here regarding pulling the webs tight, there is a limiting factor you have to be careful of, or I have to be careful of. It's not to put too many webs in here, because the combined tension of these webs, there's 14 webs this way, 5, 6, 7 on the other direction, it can pull the frame in, and if the frame is not a poor construction, you end up bowing the rails all the way around. Fortunately, this frame has got plenty of stretchers in it and corner blocks, so I've got no issues there with this particular frame. But some of the cheaper furniture, when you start re-webbing them, the frames aren't really up to holding the webs, but there you go, you can only do what you can do, so that's paid. Right, so I'll get this canvassed up and we'll come back to you when that's done. Right, so that's the seat webbed and canvassed up. You can see it over my shoulder here. I'll spin the camera around and show you a bit more detail from the underside. This is not always a chance you get to see the furniture from the underside. So here you have it, webbed and canvassed. We've put back the 2 pieces of foam here that are on top of these seat rails to stop you getting a nasty shock when you sit down on the sofa, banging your bum on this timber rail, excuse me. So let's go around to this side. So there you have it. So it's webbed, canvassed. The observant amongst you will go, well, that doesn't look like canvas. As we said in previous videos, we not recycle, we use the remnants, offcuts that we have from other suites instead of buying canvas in. To be honest with you, the fabric is going to be a lot more durable than a canvas would be anyway, so there you go, it does the job. So next on the list, we're not going to put the seat foam back in because I need to address the back itself, which you can see here. So we're going to stand it back upright on the trestles, pull the back off, and then we need to start unpicking that and templating it onto the new leather, sewing it up and going back in. So the back and the arm, which are sewn together, is the first thing to go back in. So let's crack on with that. Right, let's see if we can pull this off, or remove the cover, probably another way of putting it. Yeah, it's as simple as that. So before I go any further, I will get a marker pen and just jot a few notes on this. So top, the arm, outside back edge, top, front. So just simple instructions. This is the outside back, top edge, and it's the arm. So when it's unpicked, I can put it all back together, confident that everything's in the right place. Speed up the process as well, doing that, rather than going, oh, now where does this bit go? So there you go, right. So we will recreate it in the manner it is, where we've got this join going through the top here. So this is one piece, and I've no doubt that there's a join on the outside back which corresponds with that. Yep. So this is 1 part, 2 parts, 3 parts divided into. So there you go. So like I say, I'm going to unpick this, so break it down into its 3 parts, recreate the 3 parts and then stitch it all back together, and then it should be a relatively straightforward job to go back on. I will do it with the fly along the bottom here. This goes well underneath the seat so it's not seen, so we don't want to waste leather there, so we'll just use some, I'm not going to use what they've used here because they've just used a what we would use for our bottom cloths. It's not very strong. Certainly wouldn't want to be pulling it under any tension because it's just going to tear, but I'll use something stronger than that so we can give it a tug if necessary. And let's get on with, so I'm not going to bore you with watching me unpick all this. So like I say, I'm going to break it down into its 3 parts, 1, 2, 3, which consists of a end here, the top, the inside back and the outside back. This is just the inside back, the top rail, outside back, and this is a duplicate of this. So we'll get them cut and machined up and we'll lay them on in the 3 parts and come back to you at that point so you can see the next stage. Okay, so it's coming along well. It's going to be a cracking job when it's done. I think it's going to last the customer many more years. Right, as you can see here, I've cut and partially sewn up this back. Like I said, it's in 3 parts, so just pull them back. There you go, 3 parts. I've just got to sew them together and it's fine. The reason why I don't sew it up all together is because I want to make sure it fits, and we're using old leather as template, so therefore that can have stretched, and with this leather being very supple it stretches. So these joints are straight joints, so I've got some flexibility to adjust on these joints if it's not tight enough. And fortunately, looking at this, I think we're pretty good. Basically, the allowance that I would have normally allowed, 1/2 inch on each side, for this with other leather, I've not allowed. So this is actually nearly 1 inch narrower than I would have cut it normally using the templates I got, because I know this is a very soft, supple leather. So there you go. I hope that makes sense. So when I join this, we should have enough tension in this side to side. So I'm going to just get on the sewing machine and get these done before another customer comes in. It's been very busy today, so I can get the back done. So I'll come back to you once I've sewn this up. Right, so there you have it, sewn up now. Am I happy with it? With some pulling and some tucking, I think that's going to be spot on. So there you go. It will come out a bit cleaner. It's because the bottom's not pulled off at all. As you can see, we've retained the scalloping shape here. Got a slight curve on each one. So we've retained that. We're trying to keep it as consistent with what it was originally, because the customer has 2 of these sofas, and we want this one to look better than her other one, so she then has the other one done. So there you go. Happy customers are repeat customers. So that's pretty much the inside back done on this portion. Obviously this is only one part of the sofa. There's the other part of the corner sofa. So I'm going to finish this back off, which involves laying it on its back and just pulling some of the fabric down and tacking it into place, because I don't want to pull it off and staple it all off until I've got the seat in, just in case there's any issues with the seat. But the seat is the next thing. So you've seen this web and canvas the seat up, so we're going to put the foam back in, check that I'm happy with the cushion foams, and then we'll crack on with cutting and sewing up the leather for the seat. So that is next. So let's stop the camera there, and I'll just grab hold of the seat cushion and we'll try getting that in, see what it looks like. Right, so let's get this seat cushion in and see what it looks like on this new platform. Just need to tuck this fly, what we call fly, off down the back where it's going to go. Looks like I need to make a cut there for it to clear past the rail. So let's get that cut so it can tuck down there. And we'll grab hold of the seat cushion and see how that fits. Should be fine, shouldn't have any issues fitting. Let's just make sure that the seat looks okay. We don't want a big dome in it or anything like that, because it didn't have a big dome in it originally, but we would like it to not have any dips in it now. Right, bit awkward because these seat cushions are 3 separate pieces of foam. They don't seem to want to play nicely, but we'll get there. Okay. Give it a bit of a bounce. That's gone in there. Right, so that's the old foams back on. There's not much wrong with them, if anything at all. I think the issue with this sofa, not that it was a big issue, it wasn't that bad, it's not like it had completely collapsed anyway, we're just doing it as a matter of recourse because we're recovering it. There we have it. It's actually very comfortable. I think that seat platform's made a huge difference there. So I just need to get this glued on. So I'll lift it up and glue it on and make sure that the foam is flush here at this point, because this point butts up with the other sofa and the rest of it. But I think that's spot on. You go, laying down on the job, so to speak. But that looks good. We'll get that back in, and then hopefully I can get on, well, not hopefully, then I can get on with cutting and sewing the cover for this. The seat cover needs to go on and be pulled off first, and then the inside back, because then that stops you being able to put your hands down this gap here. And we'll pull all this off. So we're making some progress on it. It's been a bit slow progress today. Been very busy with customers coming in, but you won't hear me complaining about that. So I'll get on with buttoning this seat up, so to speak, by just getting the foam glued on and unpicking the seat. It'll be in 3 parts, the same as the back, 1, 2, 3, and then joined up. So I'll get it unpicked to that point so you can see what I'm going on about, and I'll come back to you at that point. Right, so here we have the leather unpicked into the 3 parts that we're going to reproduce. So A, B and C, and these parts here, as you can see, they're not all the same. Certainly not C. It's got a join, a detail going across the top here. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that yet. I think they've only done that because of saving or maximising the usage of the leather. But I may put a join in it to recreate that. We don't need the join in this border here, I don't think. This will alter a little bit because it's not seen. But anyway, you'll see that. You'll see the alterations, or how different it is. But so I'm going to do them one piece at a time, A, B and C, put them on here, check they fit because of the stretch in the leather, before sewing up the joins, and then the seat can go back on. Then the inside and outside back can be pulled off, the bracketry go on and bottom, and then this part is done. So I'm hoping to get that done today. I had a pretty non-upholstery day yesterday, dealing with customers, etc. So I do need to do a bit of catching up and get on with this. So I'll come back to you once the leather's cut and sewn, before I sewed the 3 panels together, so you can see what they're like, and we'll take it from there. So here we have the 3 sections of leather cut and sewn up, as you see here, 1, 2, 3. So the reason why I haven't just sewn it up is I've laid it on so I can check it before I sew it all up, and I have to unpick everything. So I'm just checking the width of all the panels, because I can take a little bit off if necessary, if I think it's going to be a bit slack. And looking at this, we're going to lose an inch off of here by the time we sew that up on that seam there. So we're going to lose an inch off of here, and we're going to lose another inch off of here. So overall we're going to lose 2 inches off of it in this direction, but we can pull it this way. We can pull it this way anyway. So looking at that, I'm very pleased with that. I didn't add any allowance onto the sewing because of this leather, and this is for the reason why. It's very soft and supple, and I need to try and get as much tension as I can in it without distorting the shape, because when the customer sits on it, it's going to stretch. That's why we need a really firm platform for it to be on, with the webbing and the canvas. So I need to just sew up, excuse me, these 3 panels, and then I can get the seat in. So so far I'm happy with it. I think it's a lovely colour. It's going to be a nice sofa, but let's get to that point now. Need to crack on and get this done. I've got a customer on the way in, so I'll try and get this sewn up before the customer arrives, and then I can come back to you and you can join me whilst I hopefully be stapling off the cover. But as you can see here, there's not so much upholstery in these for a tacker. It went in production lines and so on. You don't have somebody that's going to be doing the sewing and then process that I'm doing it. It'll be broken down into its processes. So for an upholsterer, they would get all this stitched together and come to them in one piece, and they just pull it off and staple it on the bottom. I'm having to do all those processes, and that's where the time comes in, because we don't have patterns to work from. So I'll crack on, get this sewn up. I think the customer's just arrived, so I'll be back to you as soon as I can. Right, so there we have it. Make a bit of space so you can see it properly. That's one half of the sofa done and on the floor. Let me just crouch down here so you can see better. So that's come out quite nice. I think it's a vast improvement on the colour that it was. Let's put that on there so you can see. It's a bit more modern. We've got the brackets on it, so it attaches to the second part, and we'll just put this under a cover and get on with the second part. There's a little bit crease in here. But there's going to be creasing all over on this because, quite frankly, you can't have it soft like this is and look like it's chiselled out of marble. But I'm very pleased with that, and I think the customer will be as well. And the seat will be a lot firmer than it was. I'm not going to sit in it because I don't want to stretch the leather. That's the privilege of the customer. But there you go. So onwards with the other half, and then the stool that goes with it. So I need to crack on, and we'll be back shortly showing you how we're getting on with potentially the other half and the stool as well. I'm not sure, but you've seen me do this one, so I don't think you need to see the other one as well. But I will do some footage of the stool and hopefully get a couple of pictures of it completed in the workshop if I've got the space to do it. But failing that, we'll get some pictures of it in the customer's property when I deliver it back. Hopefully next week sometime. So anyway, must crack on. Right, so there's the second part of this sofa done. I'll just blanket it up and it'll go on the floor. I've just got the large ottoman or footstool to do, and then this is ready to go back to the customer. I'm pleased with it. There's a couple of things that I would have done different as a manufacturer, but there you go. We all have our own ways of doing things, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily a right or wrong way. It's just a different way of doing things. But this is done. Like I say, I just need to get on with the stool now. So I'll hopefully be able to get a picture of it all set up on the floor for you so you can see it as a whole. But if I can't here in the workshop, I certainly will ask the customer if I can do it in her property before I leave once it's delivered. So onwards with the stool. The stool is already ripped up, so I've just got to sew the leather. It's very much a patchwork design. I will show you that now just to remind you before I start upholstering it. So here's the stool. Let's just move these kitchen chairs out of the way. There you go. 3 of them to do. I need to get on with them. There's one on its base there. But here we have the stool. So relatively straightforward. I've got to keep this design on it because we've got these tapes that are pulled down to create a buttoning effect on it. So I will do it in the panels that you see here. So I'll get on with that and we'll come back to you when that one's, well, I'll decide. I'll see how it goes. I may show you the process of doing this one, but I may come back to you just showing you the finished item. We will stay tuned and you will see. Okay. This stool has had a hard life. Looking at it, the construction of the frame isn't particularly brilliant anyway, but I think somebody has jumped on it at some point, and that would explain why they've had to move the fixing holes on here to reattach the legs. So what concerns me is if I web this up with the elastic webbing, I could very well make this frame even more bowed than what it is because I'm going to put some tension in it. So let's see if I can show you that here with a ruler. Let's just try and keep this in shot. Can you see that there? This gap here, albeit it's foam, but it's pretty much on two sides where it's been bowed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to negate that ever being an issue by putting a piece of solid board on top here, rather than webbing it. I think that's going to resolve the issue, certainly if people are standing on it or whatever they're doing, but this has been jumped on at some point and been repaired because of the damage. Not particularly well, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut a piece of 18mm plywood and I'm going to glue and screw that onto the top here. Try and stretch these rails back out to square them off, and then it'll be good to go again. You can stand on it then at that point, but I wouldn't recommend it because of the legs. They may pop the fixings out, but it's going to be a lot better than it is. I could just web it and send it back to the customer, but you know, that's what they've paid for, but I'd rather it went back right and to avoid any issues further down the line. So let's do the job right first time. Right, so I've cut the board, which is here, 18mm ply. I've just cleaned up the edges, so we've got no sharp edges. I've cleaned up the surface of this stool to get the foam and staples off, to get it flush as I can, bearing in mind it's not particularly that well made, but it'll be strong enough for what the customer wants it to do it for. So now I've just got to put a bead of glue around this edge and we'll attach it with some 2-inch staples into the edge of this plywood all the way around. I will try to push the edges out so we make it square again. So that may take a little bit of persuasion. So let's get my glue on. I use a polyurethane expanding glue. There's plenty of them out there on the market. I just happen to have this one because I do. So we'll just put a bead of this on. This is great stuff. Horrible if you get it on your hands. Not necessarily saying that it's painful if you get it on your hands. It's not, but it's very sticky and it takes a while to get it off. So there we go. Good bead of that round. It's a bit chilly in here, so it's making it a bit of a squeeze to get this out. It doesn't like being cold like the rest of us, I suppose. So, like I say, these edges are bowed, so I'm going to do my best to square it back up. But first off, I need to get a couple of staples in it. Got to start somewhere. Give it a little wiggle. And find the straightest edge. The stool, the top is, the timber is a little bit shy of the edges. Because it's not entirely, my top is square, my board's square, but the frame isn't. But there we go. Unfortunately, it's a bit further out than I anticipated, but we'll get round that. So, obviously once this is on, it's not going to go anywhere because it's been pushed down by everything else. I need to get the foam back on. Okay. Right. That's back on there. Put my tools away, then I know where they are next time. So, give that a couple of minutes for the timber to go off. And then we'll be good to go. Let's put this spare piece out of the way. There we have it. So, it's not going to go anywhere now. People jumping on it, anything like that. It's solid. The downside of that, yes, when you sit on it, it's not necessarily going to feel like the sofa. It's going to feel a lot firmer. But this is just really used for a coffee table more than anything else in the customer's house. So being a nice flat platform would be far better for when they put their trays on it and so on. And it's certainly be comfy enough to sit on. So let's go off, and then I'll reattach the top foam, and I'll be back to you at that point. Hopefully then I'll be able to get on with cutting the leather, and the leather will fit a lot better now with this being square. So we'll get back to you as soon as we're ready to put the leather on. So here we have the rather large stool done. So that's the third piece from this suite. It's all done now. Here's the fabric that it was in originally. So pretty generic. You see a lot of this Italian style furniture done in this. This wasn't Italian. It was made in China. According to the paperwork that I found inside it. But there you go, it's done. We've got the faux buttons in it. Let me just lift this up so you can see. In the top, the stitched in buttons, and there it is done. It's now got the solid board on the top, so they're not going to have any issues with this sagging. It's nice and firm now. And it's strengthened up the frame because of the damage to it from, I can only presume looking at it, it's been jumped on. Or possibly dropped on its feet. Dropping it on its feet pushes the feet up and it damages the frame. Certainly with a frame manufactured like this. But anyway, it's done. I will try and post a picture on the end of this clip of the suite done in its entirety in the customer's house. But it does depend on the customer firstly and how long it is before I'm able to deliver it. So now I've got to make that phone call and give the customer the good news that their furniture's done. As always, I hope you enjoy these videos. They're not necessarily meant to be instructional. Everybody has their own way of doing things, but I think my customers are happy with the end result, and if you learn anything or pick up any tips along the way, that's great. I'm more than happy to help you if I can. So as always, meant for entertainment. I hope you enjoy this. We'll keep putting them out so long as you do. Please like and subscribe. It means a great deal to us, and I'll keep putting the content out if you keep watching. Okay, lovely. Until then, I'll see you next time, and I'm going home to have some well-deserved dinner. Cheerio. Bye-bye.